Welcome to 5 Good Minutes. You're listening to today's inspirational message on the subject of awe and worship with Kurt Bjorklund.
Awe, worship, is part of what gives us spiritual vitality. Romans 12 just says this is your spiritual worship. There's a little footnote in the ESV that says your rational service. And the reason is because they've translated a word logikon as spiritual, which you can almost hear the logic of it. In other words, this is your reasonable service. This is what makes sense. But the fact that worship is noted here, living as a living sacrifice, what that means is that worship in many ways is what will help us get there. And in verse 2, we considered the do not be conformed, but the second part is be transformed. Again, passive verb, meaning by something. And it says the renewal of your mind. So the renewal of your mind is something that takes place as you let the Word of God operate on you and you let prayer and community and service shape you over time. And so part of how spiritual worship happens is by saying, I'm not going to be conformed to the world, but also by putting ourselves in a place where there's a consistency of the Word of God working on us. So even just the activity of listening to this podcast, maybe you're driving or this is something you do just as a routine, is a way of saying, I'm renewing my mind, and that leads to transformation and is part of the worship experience in our lives. Now, what I have found in years of Bible intake on my own is that there's a tendency that I have to come up with a big plan and then try to stick to the plan. And it's not unlike exercise in that I'll have a plan for how I should do exercise in my life. And then the reality is I get into the day-to-day and sometimes it's hard to maintain my plan. And then it becomes about sticking to my plan rather than actually connecting with God. And the goal of your spiritual disciplines is not to get through the Bible in a year. It's to have the Bible get through to you. It's to be transformed. It's to say what I need to do is spend some time on a consistent basis getting to a place where God is speaking into my life, where my life is being transformed. And so that is what we want to do if we want to be filled with worship, filled with awe in our lives. So what places, times, things help you get there? And one of the things I've learned too over the years is that those things sometimes change over time. Now there's a constant. The constant is the Bible itself, the Word. I think church is a constant. I don't think that's really a negotiable. But what I'm saying is, one year it might be, okay, I'm going to try to read the whole Bible in a year. The next year it might be, I'm just going to focus on the Gospels. The next year it might be, I'm going to do this devotional book. Sometimes it might be, I'm going to do this podcast for a while. And then it might be, I'm going to try to read these Christian books, or I'm going to make sure that every day I go for a walk and I pray, or my point is, it is varied, and even the variedness of it is good because it makes it fresh and it brings something. But as soon as we recognize that we're not being transformed by the Word, we will lose our awe unless we make a course adjustment. So, what course adjustment might be helpful in your life today?
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.